All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nonprofit Enthusiasts Live. I am so excited to be here and joined by Miss Shamika Allen Lane. Hey, Shamika. We are going to continue the conversation on program and service development for nonprofit organizations today. And can you believe this is our last one for the month? And then next month, we're going to get into our next topic of volunteer management, which is going to be extremely exciting. So make sure if you're here, go ahead and tag a friend so that they can tune in and join us in this conversation. If you're here, give us a hey, how you doing? Good morning, so that we know you're here, and we're going to get started shortly. And don't forget, if you're catching us on replay, give us a hashtag replay in the chat box so that we know that you are catching us on replay. We love when you come back and tune in and join us. Special thanks to this month's sponsor. We have ACES Matter, and we have an event for ACES Matter coming up shortly. We'll drop that information in the chat box. Please make sure that you check them out and learn more at acesmatter.org, and also register for our upcoming awareness party that we have coming up, and we'll drop that link in the chat box. If you want to learn more about ACES Matter as well, and you missed our previous live that we have, definitely go to the guide section and you'll be able to check that conversation out. We hope that you all will join us there. Good morning, Chanel. Thank you for joining us. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Give me 1 second. All right. So Shamika, I am so glad to have you back on so that we can talk a little bit about programming and services and all of the amazing things. But before we do that, do you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself, about Catalyst Event Coaching?
Absolutely. So as Lashina said, my name is Shamika Allen Lane, and I actually live here in Orlando, Florida. And my company is Catalyst Event Coaching. And so some people get, they understand the name and some people don't, but basically, naturally, people think about event management, and I do that. But one of the things I love to focus on is actually training and coaching people around making events happen so that their organizations and companies can keep their events in-house with their teams. And so I work very closely with growing companies as well as nonprofit organizations, which is my background, the nonprofit organization point of it. So always happy to serve and happy to be here today.
Love it, love it, love it. So I know today our topic for this month has been program and service development as a whole for nonprofit organizations. And we've been talking a lot about, and I just believe, I look at, and I use this example, and everyone's probably gonna get so tired of it. I look at program and services as if you're walking into a restaurant with, if you either have a really good menu or you don't have a menu at all, right? Because it's that important. And it's like a lot of times, sometimes organizations get started, it's like, hey, I want to get funded, but you have no menu in place, right? So with that, I want us to kind of talk about program and services. And I know we kind of talked about sharing, if you're an organization, a nonprofit organization that's just getting started, and you're at the point of, I don't know what to do. All I know is I just want to put on several events or so forth. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And Shamika, if you don't mind sharing some tips for people that they're in that space where they're a new nonprofit organization and they're kind of like, what to do? Where do I get started? What would you tell those individuals listening?
Sure. So first off, I love your analogy, and I know that you're a foodie, because we cool like that.
Yes,
and
yes.
Here's the crazy thing. I love food analogies too. So the fact that you say it's like going into a restaurant and you have a meeting or a menu or you don't, I'm going to take it a step further, and this may or may not resonate with some people, but if you go in a restaurant that they may or may not have a menu, it don't mean they ain't got no good food. Right? Wow. So we all know some of the hole-in-the-wall restaurants or some of the best restaurants, lines around the corner type of thing. And you may just be that. You may be that best kept secret that's out there. And so one of the things that I want to say is we don't want you to get so caught up in doing everything perfect out the gate, because we want you to do all the things though, but we don't want you to do it so perfect that you're caught up in that you are paralyzed, that you cannot take action. And so that is not the aim, because we want you to get out there and just do it. Like Nike say, just do it. So with that said, we want to make sure that happens. So if there are parts that you can take, that you've gotten the information and you're like, I can do this. Okay, pick the ones that you can do. If it's a list of 10 things and you feel like you can make 3 happen, of what we're saying with having your structure and putting your systems in place, take those 3. Work with those. Don't take all 10 if that's going to dilute your process, right? And so you want to just get into it and do it, because here's the thing. Once you get into it and you do it, the rest will start coming, right? But you have to see the results first, sometimes in your mind, to finish processing how all of this comes together and works together in this big puzzle. And so I'll give an example. I am a co-founder of a nonprofit organization, and the intent was not to start a nonprofit organization. It was to actually do something for the community. And that's what most of these nonprofits are about. It's about the impact and doing something for the community. At the time, it was the fact that COVID was happening. So that put a huge burden on a lot of communities. And that particular community, which is my hometown, was actually considered epicenter at one point, believe it or not. I know everybody talk about New York. It was before the New York situation was even discussed. It popped off in my hometown, and it's a small hometown that already had multiple natural disasters to happen to it. So basically we was like, the students are getting ready to go back to school. We want them to be ready for school. And that's what we sought out to do. So we pulled together as a community, a bunch of strangers. Half of us didn't even know each other. We pulled together and we was like, we're gonna make this happen. We don't got no budget. We don't have no money, but we're gonna make this happen. And that's what we did. We reached out to all of our resources and we asked them for things that was not too much for them, right? So some people did give money outright, but a lot of times it was in-kind donations. And that's what made some people feel better to give that in-kind donation, because they knew that it was going to be used for whatever we asked it for. And so we pulled that event off very successfully, that as soon as we pulled it off, many groups came to us and asked about what's next. Can we help you? Can we support you? Would you partner with us? And that's when we were like, wait a minute, this might be something, you know? And so that's what I want everybody to kind of keep in mind, because those things come together. But with that, there are a couple of things that I do say. If you take that route, and this is regardless, if you don't take that route, but this is going to help seal the deal, you're telling a story. I think you guys kind of talked about that last week. Telling the story. You're telling a story. And in telling that story, it's important to capture the moments, right? So be into it, be present, but capture the moment. So that may mean having a photographer or videographer. Now, I'm not saying that that has to be a professional person. If it is, great. And sometimes you can get those people to volunteer their time. I've seen it happen a lot. But if for some reason it is not what you consider professional, you have someone that you designate as your photo taker, and you take all the photos that you can take. We, of course, try to be mindful, depending on the type of event and the type of community you serve in, you know, being mindful of the recipients of those. But you want to still be able to tell the story. So if you can't show the recipients, you show, if I use the example of putting that back to school event together, show the photos of the volunteers packing everything together, show all the materials that you put together. You know, if you have in-kind donors or sponsors that don't mind taking a photo with those items that they donate, you know, take those photos as well. You want to take as many photos and videos as you can to tell that story. So afterwards, when you're going to officially be that nonprofit organization, or you're officially now saying, we have this program together, we're ready to go. You have something
Mhm.
that shows you've already been doing this work and they can trust you to do this work.
Love it. And there's a few different thoughts that came to mind, and I'm gonna talk about the most recent one is, and I learned this from you, is when it comes to that photographer having some sort of shot list. If you don't have that, if you don't have the, let's say it might be like, hey, I got this volunteer, can you take some shots? But if prior to the event, because I learned this from our event expert over here, making sure that you have what shots you want that person to capture, so they're not just shooting and missing moments. So I don't know if you want to add anything. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
First off, you done learned something. I'm proud.
I did.
Proud. But no, it does. It makes a difference because during the event, you're in the moment. You're not thinking of all the things, that moment where, it could even be your mom. Your mom is here to support you, but your mom has been the biggest cheerleader and one of the biggest volunteers for the event. And you're so caught up in that moment that you didn't even think to be like, man, my mom, like you might hug your mom. That moment that you hug her because you're like, this is so great. Thank you so much. And I feel this. That's a moment, right? And so if the photographer knows that, and you're not necessarily posing for this moment, but the photographer, if they are aware of the shots that are important to you, then they're looking for that. Now they're going to fill in some gaps that there are some things you didn't even think about that they're going to catch. But if they have a shot list to show them the direction that you would like to go, they're going to capture those things. And when no one else is thinking about it, they're going to say, wait a minute, we didn't get these people together. Can we have a quick shot with this group? They're going to make sure that they get those. So you don't have to worry about it. It's taken care of for you. And this, again, can go for the person that is not a professional. If you have to go that route, you can still give them a shot list. That's just something they can check off. It's a quick little checklist for them.
Love it. Yeah, that is amazing. And if you do have the professional, having it as well. And that could be for your events, your programs, all of that. Because I know, and when you're in that event or program mode, your focus is on getting it completed. You're not thinking about these moments. And if that person can just focus on that and capture those moments so you can go back and tell your story, that is absolutely amazing. Something else that you talked about is when you started your organization, and for newer organization and even organizations that's been around, it's really good to even capture those moments of where you kind of started out where, hey, it's, we're having a back to school bash, we're doing this, and then we grew. The community said, hey, we need you more, and this is how we grew. So no matter where you are, if you're in that beginning stage, something that you said, just maybe think about, yes, we need to capture that history to build up and continue to be able to put those stories and moments together. So I absolutely love that. And I also thought about when I started my nonprofit organization, and to talk about that, I spent years trying to create this perfect business plan first. And that's the organization never got started. And I remember speaking to someone who was she had an organization doing exactly, similar things as to what I wanted the organization to do. And she was like, just get started. And that's why you hear me always say, just get started, start your program, and then those you serve will help you develop your mission, your vision, and just your overall business plan. And that was one of the best pieces of advices that I got coming into the nonprofit arena, is just get started. And it was so true, because I went to the church the next week. I put up a flyer, and I got our first, member, a mentee, I should say. And then she's been with us ever since. She's the same mentee that she's also on our board, and we have a special announcement soon that I'll share with you all, even with her and her role with the organization. But the thing about it was, it's having those mentees that helped us develop our programs and what they look like. And then what else happened with that is the mentees started getting older, and then I'm gonna be perfectly honest, us as volunteers, we started getting a little we didn't get older, but we got a little worn out, in a sense of we were meeting every other weekend with them, but we wanted to find a way to keep those mentees involved. So that's how we built two of our other programs. One of them, which is our volunteer program, they came back and volunteered. So they started to lead the course and run the programs. And we made that one of our programs. So they made the organization what it is today, so that's, if you're listening and you're like, look, I want to start my organization. I need to have the perfect business plan. Been there. I think the common thing, Shamika, that we're saying is just do it. Just get started. Just start your organization or start your program. If it's even building your program, just do something. And then you'll be able to use that experience to help, I'm thinking of the word, like to help build that program more and kind of fine tune it. You'll be able to fine tune the program there. Because no matter what model, no matter what we do, if you don't pilot your program, it looks really good on paper, but either way, you have to just get started.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You look, you said a whole lot, and
I did say a lot.
It was everything. And that's the truth. You have to just get started. I'm working with a client right now who she has a passion of doing things in the community. She's starting a program and don't have a nonprofit. And so that's what she's doing. She wants to make that difference. She doesn't have to have that name quite so, or that tax status, I guess you can say. And she's going to work toward it, but she hasn't made that her first priority, and that's okay. What I will say, because I see this often, and even in my own organizations, I've had to be like, wait a minute, honey, in the words of my good friend Tabitha Brown, because she's my good friend in my head, stay focused.
Oh my gosh, you're so funny.
Yeah, stay focused, because what happened if you go out and do that event first, right? You do that program first, you do it first, you're going to get some people that see what you're doing, because sometimes people wait to see if you can back up what you're talking. Right. So when they see that you can back up what you're talking, they run behind you. They come to you with all sorts of ideas and things that they feel like could help them, or just maybe even their vision. And so I'm not saying don't listen, because sometimes they have really good ideas, like Lashina say, they kind of help shape where your program should go. So listen to them, but please stay focused, because you can't do all the things. We just talked about that in the beginning. You can't do all the things. And so you need to be able to understand, one, you got a certain set of resources that includes people and labor. So you have to stay focused on what's important to you, what you want this program to do. So always have that top of mind. In my framework, one of the top pillars, the first pillar is goals and objectives. So it doesn't matter. Like, you have to always think about that first, because if you start doing stuff, and I see this a lot, whatever is the newest thing that's going on as the trend, people are like, oh my gosh, everybody doing such and such, everybody's going to want to go and do that. And yes, the trend is going to get attention. Don't get me wrong. But how much longevity is that trend going to have? Did they come because of that fun thing to do whatever that trend is? Or is it being impactful? And so you just want to be mindful of that, so that you can continue to be impactful. If bringing something trendy helps to supplement what you're doing and you can still stay focused, great. Bring it into the fold. But if it's like shifting gears and you like, ooh, but they doing that, and so we got to do that. Stay focused. Stay focused.
And I think that's a perfect place to say, like, so, okay, you got started. We saying, if you, depending on where you are, if you've been sitting on starting a program or starting your organization for a while, just do something, is what we're saying, right? And then I think there's that other piece of, once you get there, yes, you need to look at your processes and systems to help you stay focused. But the goal of our conversation is for those that might just be stuck. We're just saying, get up, get started. But yes, you should, as you continue to grow, you are going to have to have processes and systems in place to help you stay focused. Which Shamika talked about, how her framework starts with the goal and objectives. We talk about all the time developing your program logic model, how that can convert into your strategic plan, and looking at your mission, vision, and core values. If it don't fall within it, then you're not doing it. So that can help you with that stay focused piece. So I just want to make sure you all know that too. Nonprofit is a journey, and there is pieces in there to help you kind of build, as you go. But we just really want to talk to those who are just stuck. If it's like, I don't know, I've been thinking about this idea, I've been thinking about just doing this program, just get started. And then everything else will kind of come in and flow, and and then you have amazing people like us here to support you along the way. So you're not alone. So once you get started, you can call us and say, hey, or if you're like, I'm stuck now, and even with everything that we're saying, I want to get started, but I don't even know where to start. Still, we're here to support you in just kind of getting it off the ground. Okay.
Yes. And I would say too, Lashina, that we talk about staying focused and just get started, but okay, you go out and you do that first thing, you get that first program off the ground, then no matter what, because this is also part of my framework, that last step is to evaluate. That goes right along what Lashina was saying about this is a pilot. Now we kind of see where it needs to go. So make sure that you take that time. So you may skip some other steps in this case, but that goals and objectives piece and that evaluation, you really need to make sure that happens so that you can make sure that, okay, you've looked at everything and you're keeping, well, I like to say that data. You like to keep that data to see what's what, because sometimes what we're doing in the moment doesn't make sense to us. Like even those pictures, sometimes somebody take a picture and just like, they got a whole bunch of miscellaneous pictures, they're cute. 5 years from now, you might put together that you see a trend happening in those same pictures and you're like, oh man, that's one of our things, like we keep doing it, and so that's the same story that evaluation and your data tells as well. You start picking up like, wait a minute, there's something to this. So take a look at that information so that you can see what's happening that is what you may consider a trend. Or you're like, that's weird that this happened this way, and you're making sense out of it in the future, because right now it's fresh, all the things because it's fresh. Next year, is it still fresh? What happened in between now and then? Is it still fresh? Or however often you're looking to do this program. And so take a look at that and make it make sense. And from there, that's also another storytelling piece. When you look at that data and that evaluation part that you have, you can use that next time when you're going out to seek people to support your event, whether it be volunteers or donors, whatever capacity for those stakeholders. Now you have something to match with those pictures and videos that you've taken, and it's starting to shape itself.
Love it. I love it. Yes. So it's a few things and that we talked about quite a few things. We talked about capturing those moments, those special moments. We talked about staying focused, telling your story, being able to tell your story and how to capture that from the very, very beginning. From, just starting out, just, capturing those very special moments. Anything else, Shamika, that you want to add to today's conversation?
I'm not trying to overwhelm the people.
Okay, just making sure, just see it.
So the only other thing that I will say is to create those first events, those first programs, be mindful of those resources. I know we kind of mentioned it, but there are a lot of times in most of our communities, things that are already there. So make sure you do your due diligence to see what is available so that you're not missing out on those opportunities. It might be donors, in-kind donations from somewhere like Publix, because they do have a program that, is used very often, or Walmart or Sam's. So there's a lot of different companies and businesses that have programs. And sometimes you also have like things like SCORE that'll still help and other resources in the community. Don't sleep on those when they're free.
Yep. That's so true. There's so many different resources. And that's why I too, like, let's say when you're having an event or a program, I like to look at the budget and kind of see the different line items. Because if I see, hey, we got this in marketing, oh, can we call up so-and-so to help us out in this area?
Yep.
That's why, the budget, I think, helps you a lot in kind of identifying hey, we got, for this event, we need supplies, we need, I don't know, pencils, paper, all of that thing. Oh, can we call the local, let's say Walmart, Target, or any of those stores and see if they'll be willing to help us out with that. So having an event budget, I think, helps you with some of that as well. Yes, definitely being mindful of those resources around you. I love it. I love it. I love it. Awesome. So something, so if you're tuning in, you're just getting started with your organization or building your program, we're saying just get started. Something else that I always like to say before we wrap up today is if you're like, if you don't know, because there's a lot of different pieces to building your organization and building your programs. And if you don't know where to start, I always say, follow our themes. You will notice every month we have a different theme. I'm like, just make that your goal for the theme. We did half the work for you. So meaning this month we've been talking about program and services. You're looking at your programs, your services within your organization, how you can build them, how you can start them. You're taking a look at that stuff. And the other thing about it is when you follow the themes, you can come into these lives with your questions and we're here to help and support you. Right?
Use your resources.
Use your resources. You could just come in a live, type in that question. Hey, I've been working on program and services this month, but I got stuck here. What can I do, sort of thing, right? So definitely follow the themes. If you missed any of the themes, if you go to the guide section of this group, you will see all the past discussions that we've had, and we continue to add on it. So you'll notice last year we talked about program and services, and now we're adding 4 more sessions from this year into that area. So there is so much information in that guide section of the group. So definitely make sure that you check that out. So that is all. Anything else, Shamika? I just want to remind everyone of the guide sections. We're here for you. Anything else, Shamika, that you'd like to share before I close out? How can people get in touch with you? And I know you're going to be back in a couple months with us. What's the best way to find you?
Sure. I am on both Facebook as well as LinkedIn. I do have a group as well called Event Planning with a Purpose. So you can join that as well to get a lot of good content around supporting what you're doing, whether it be in your nonprofit or outside of your nonprofit, but it's all purpose driven. And of course, I have a website, and everywhere you find me, website, including social media, is Catalyst Event Coaching.
Awesome. So you all know where to find Shamika. All right. So, and as far as homework, you know what homework is. We're wrapping up this month, the conversation on program and services. And next month, we're going to be talking about volunteer management. And I'm so super excited. We have several volunteer managers who will be joining us on and talking about the day-to-day of managing volunteers. So as you wrap up your goals for this month, let's get ready for next month's goals, which is building these volunteer program. So definitely tune in next month. Special thanks once again to ACES Matter for being our sponsor this month. Please make sure that you check out ACES at acesmatter.org, and also come join us for our upcoming awareness party next month. Actually next Wednesday. Yeah, come join us next Wednesday for that awareness party. Make sure that you register. We'll drop the link again into the chat box so that you can register for it. Awesome. So, and Shamika, thank you for coming on. Thank you for always being willing to come on and share information and tips and tricks for the organizations. And we look forward to you coming back in a few months.
Yes, look, and y'all get your questions ready. Go ahead and get your questions together.
Yep. Get them ready. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. We will see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.